Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel, and we're going to spin through some videos here. Welcome to my living room. I'm going to try something a little different, and just chilling on the couch here. We're going to run through. What I have today is we're going to talk about the Nasser Hospital attack in Gaza. Recently, I wrote an article on the assassination of journalist Anas al-Sharif, who was a correspondent for Al-Jazeera inside the Gaza Strip. His murder or assassination, it was kind of like crossing a line because it, tally number-wise, put Israel well into the category of killing more journalists and having more journalists having died in this war than basically like all the wars of the last century and early this century combined. And that's in the like 230s now, whereas in all these other wars there had only been 210 something. I forget what the number is, 209, I forget. It's in my paper on my Substack, Open Genocide on the Truth, about the assassination of Anas. And so targeting the truth, censorship through assassination has become policy of the Israeli government. The reason the numbers of journalists killed has eclipsed all the other wars is because in these other wars, journalists died as a casualty, casualty of war, right? In this situation here, we have journalists being targeted and assassinated. And this is continued now with this Nasser Hospital attack. We have another direct attack on basically what is Israel is trying to choke out all information coming out of the Strip. That's what they did with Anas. He was the biggest journalist at the time, left in the Strip, reporting from Al-Jazeera, and it certainly changed the flow of news. And now with this latest attack at Nasser Hospital, they've taken out another group of journalists. One woman, Miriam, I can't believe her last name. It'll be in here. But these were all men and women that have worked incredibly hard in getting the truth out there to all of us in the hope that we can do something to change this. And we have Israel targeting them as a matter of policy. This is nothing short of something else to add to their list of war crimes. So here we go. Let's get into this. I'm going to watch this article with you guys. This is an article, I'm going to watch this news report rather. It's a news report about the Nasser Hospital attack through the eyes and perspective of an ICU doctor who works the hospital. He's been there the entirety of the war in the Strip, and he's going to share his perspective on the attack, and I'll be here giving you my commentary. So let's check it out.
List is among 15 Palestinians killed in an Israeli strike on the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. At least 3 other journalists were killed in the attack, including one who worked for the U.S. television network NBC, another who worked for the international news agency Reuters. More than 240 media workers have been killed in Gaza since the start of the war.
That was the number. He's referring to that number that's broken records of all other journalists in other wars right there. And then also quickly, he mentioned the Reuters reporter. What I didn't get to in the intro was that at the time of this attack, there was a camera posted right there on the landing of that stairway that was filming a live feed on Reuters, okay? And I'm almost positive I'm pretty sure that the same DSLR camera that we have pictures of from the rubble is the one that was up on the tripod given the live stream and the live feed. And then what you had, well, I'll let the doctor explain the situation.
Dr. Saber Al-Asmar is an intensive care unit doctor at the Nasser Hospital, where Israeli strikes took place. He joins us live from inside the Nasser Hospital. Doctor, tell us what happened.
Hello, thank you for having me. So what exactly happened that we were, like everyone inside the hospital was doing his job as possible with the very big shortage of equipment, tools, medications, but we still doing what we can to do And while everyone was doing his job, then a very big airstrike happened in one of the building of Nasser Hospital. It shook the hospital. The patients were freaked out, and everything like looks dark around.
First attack. Okay, first attack. This is the first strike on the hospital.
Then we called the civil defense worker to go to the place that was targeted, and then another big airstrike happened. And so we still can't comprehend what would happen even now or next. The situation is horrible. We have seen bodies everywhere, around 14 bodies, dead bodies.
So what he just described there is what people are calling and have been calling a double tap strike. This is a tactic that is really, I believe, probably a war crime in and of itself, considering when you're using it on civilians. But what they do is they make a first attack, and when people respond and come and try to help the victims of the first attack, a second attack on the same location is carried out, basically targeting the first responders to the first strike.
They all were shuttered, and we just actually they targeted mostly like the floor that where the operation room is. And as you know, the operation room, especially in the morning, is full of medical students.
So you see the guy standing there with the blanket, right? And he's, obviously has blood from a victim of the first strike. And as he's showing the camera right there after the first strike, they get hit again. Now, it's important when he's talking about the doctor here, the medical students were in a room that's behind that landing, and why that landing got taken out, and coincidentally, the collateral damage, the room with the medical students, but it all had to do with a camera from one of the journalists, right, shooting for Reuters, and there was an apparent live stream running off this guy's DSLR on a tripod there, and we have pictures of they pulled his camera out of the rubble, and I actually have the interview from a reporter that lived through this, and I'll show you his story too. But this was another targeted strike and double tap, triple tap, and assassination of journalists in Gaza, another.
And they target like a place where a journalists were preparing themselves to give reports about what's happening actually in the Gaza's hospitals, and also the other rooms where a group of medical students were taking a class, educational class. Yeah, where a group of medical students were taking an educational class, and they, like most of them, have a severe injuries, and the other is dead.
Thank you for all this information. We're just finding all of this out now as you share the information with us. Was it possible, or is it possible for you now to figure out what was being targeted? Because you're telling us the area was an operation room, also the place where journalists were preparing their broadcasts, and a place where medical students were taking a class.
Yeah, so the floor, this is between the fourth floor of the Al-Yassin building. This is the main building of Nasser Hospital. This floor has an intensive care unit. Half of it is the intensive care unit.
Sorry guys, I'm retarded.
With rooms for the whole rooms for the educational purposes and meetings. And the other half is is where the operation rooms are. And it also has a room for a class, and also the stairs, the outside, the emergency stairs from the outside. So the room that was intended to be for the medical students to have educational classes, and also the stairs that where the journalists were gathered there to preparing themselves to give reports from what's happening in the operation rooms and what's happening in the Nasser Hospital, and they were directly targeted. And the catastrophe that happened, that they targeted at the first time, they targeted them, and then after a few minutes, because after every strike, the people gather to try to save the injuries. And while the civil defense arrived there and the people are trying to take the casualties from there, they targeted them again, as they are intentionally mean to do it to cause at the maximum harm to the doctors and the civil defenses workers and the people who are trying to save their lives.
You told us that the area that was targeted included operation rooms, which you said are very busy around this time of day. Does that mean that medical staff and perhaps patients were killed as well?
Yes, so we are confirmed that the main...
Really quick, look at that landing on the staircase there, right? This is what I was talking about with the live feed. There was a live feed off of that landing from the Reuters correspondent, and people believe that was the target. That's what drew the attention, and that was the target of the attack and assassination by the Israelis. They wanted to take out that camera, right? This is a piecemeal process where anything that is done, said against them, and certainly the news from inside of the Strip, they try to nip this in the bud as fast and as quick as possible, and in any regard. They're just killing anyone who will tell the truth, bar none.
The room where the journalists were there, like many journalists have been killed, and also with 2 or 3 medical students, but we are not confirming the number still now. Many of them were like, you wouldn't recognize them. They all burned, and many of them are in pieces. So we are still waiting from the hospital administration to give the exact report for the dead bodies here. But eventually, either way, like what we have been calling for for 22 months until now is just a protection for the hospitals. My hospital here was bombed like at least 4 times. It was invaded 2 times.
Okay, now he's talking about over the course of this war. This is extremely important. Okay, he was giving his account for everything of this attack. That was his account of this attack up until this point right here. Right here is where he starts to talk about the history of these hospitals being attacked. In the Gaza Strip, I believe all functioning hospitals have been attacked. I don't believe there's any hospital that has not literally been attacked yet. So many have been completely destroyed, but it's been a game of attacks on the hospitals, some brought down completely to rubble, and the Palestinians rebuilding their infrastructure on the spot as fast as they can, because they need this to live. This is one of the most densely populated areas of the world, and almost 90% of it has been turned to rubble, with the Israelis marking that same territory as a shoot-to-kill zone, and they are corralling the population into essentially Gaza City and an area on the beach along the coast. This is barbaric, this is inhumane, and we're starving them to boot. It's been declared a famine. So what he's talking about with these hospital strikes and invasions, this is what Nasser Hospital has suffered throughout the course of the conflict, which coming up this October 7th will be 2 years. So, we're 22 months of conflict here. Let's get back to this.
What we have been calling for for 22 months until now is just a protection for the hospitals. My hospital here was bombed like at least 4 times. It was invaded 2 times. Like, I'm an intensive care unit today. When the bombing happened, we were doing the morning round around to the patients of intensive care units. Many of them are children who have severe critical injuries from before, and I can see the fear and the horror in the faces of these patients who are supposed to be in a place where it is internationally protected, and this is the place that's supposed to be safe and where the medical supply, where
do you see like the pain and frustration in this, man. I don't know if people out there, how hip you are to like reading things around you, right? Reading your situation and being aware, but you should be able to see the frustration on that guy. It is palpable. And many of us share his position inside and outside Gaza. We're asking the world to care that that a group of people are being essentially tortured in front of all of us. Can we collectively say that this is a bad thing that needs to stop right now, and literally do whatever we can to stop it? Because that's what's necessary. It's either that or the United Nations has to form a force to go in there. But as citizens of the world, man, it's our responsibility to do whatever we can to stop this, because we have to understand that that's us, okay? The Palestinians are every single group of normal people all around the world. And we will all be marginalized at any one of their expense at any time, should it fit their plans. So when we sit here and watch them die, and watch them be brutalized, and watch them be genocided, and watch them be their lands be ethnic cleansed and stolen from them, it's gonna come for all of us, dude. Like that same thing will come for who. You think they're not gonna do that to us? We have a government. Aside from that, it's morally wrong. I'm not a man that stands here and lets a guy beat the living you know what out of his wife or kids or something like that. Let's get back to it.
Where the medical services are provided. So unfortunately, this is happening again and again, and even of our calling for the world, for the international communities to make them stop doing this. But unfortunately, as you see, this is what happened today.
And you're also reminding us of something else that is vital, which is you have been through all of this before, as I understand it. Your hospital has been attacked multiple times before. This is a place where, by definition, people come to seek treatment. People come to be saved, and you're telling us you've had it before, that the hospital has been attacked and people killed.
Yes, exactly. I have seen patients are running away from the hospitals. We were talking to them that they still need a medical care, and they told us, I don't care, I don't need a medical care, I don't want to get pumped inside the hospital. Can you imagine this? Like what's more horrible things could happen for these patients who are just running away of the hospitals because they are now scared of getting pumped inside the hospital while they are still needing the medical care.
So you hear what he's saying. These people don't want anything to do with staying inside of this hospital. They get injured, almost killed, go to the hospital to get treated for it, and then have to worry about dying while they're in the hospital and have to make the decision, do I leave or do I stay to treat myself, which I could die from these injuries, right, and these wounds maybe. I'm sure some people are in that boat. And they decide they got to leave because the hospital could be struck at any moment. Like, an attack on a hospital or a medical establishment like that is against the Geneva Convention, and it's a war crime. Let's just make sure we mention it.
This game, you're not ready for it.
So what we need is an international law to be here in Gaza, at least, And also, as the report says, many journalists, these journalists were preparing themselves to take the videos and to make a report from the inside the hospital to show how horrible the situation is. We are now have a very, very big shortage of medications, of especially the painkillers, where most of the patients need them, because most of our patients are the casualties from the different pumpings around here.
So these journalists are about to tell the story of how the shortages are affecting the hospitals in Gaza, and they're assassinated before they can even tell that story, right? Let this keep rolling. I'm gonna hold my thought.
What is happening right now, Doctor, at the area that was struck, the operation rooms, the classrooms? I mean, I know there's extensive damage. What's happening? Who's there right now?
Especially extensive damage, especially in the operation rooms. But as we used to do, like every time an airstrike happen, we are trying to go on because we can't stop. We have so many patients now in emergency room from that airstrikes. They need an urgent operations, life-saving operations. Many other need intensive care unit and ICU management, but unfortunately we don't have enough beds. We don't have the rooms. So for us as the worker in the hospital, everyone now are gathering to try to like clean things up and try to try to go on with the work and try to make up what has been what.
Bro, these are real people like me and you. So this, like, to all my fellow citizens of the West, why on earth would you be okay with watching whatever group of people being just completely decimated, genocided, ethnic cleansed in front of our eyes? I could have never imagined that I would watch the world sit by silent to this, and how the world would not relate themselves. You know, if not for God's grace, that would be I forget how that saying goes from AA or whatever. But that could be me, man. That could be me, but God saved me from that situation. That's basically what that means. And that could be us. That's the point of this. This is people just like me and you. Boy, what was I saying? Gaza, one of the most densely populated areas in the world before this. And it's been turned to rubble.
Has been like broken inside the operation room, so we can't go on with our work because we can't give up, we can't stop. This is the hospital. These are our patients. These are our people, and we can't just give up and leave everything and leave. You know.
Doctor, what is happening at the ICU, the intensive care unit?
Land.
That is where people go when they are in the most critical condition and when they need the most urgent medical help. And you're telling me it was part of the area that was bombed?
Yes. So, in general, even before this airstrike, intensive care unit at Nasser Hospital, this is the only functioning hospital with money, with a specialty working now in the south of Gaza Strip. The situation is horrible, especially in the intensive care units. This hospital was built to have one main ICU, which is covered around 12 beds. Now, because of the number of the casualties and that's going to keep coming every day, we have around 50 beds of ICU. If you ask me how can you extend these, I will tell you we are not offering the appropriate management, but we are trying to offer what we have. So we are trying to shift on the ward rooms to ICU with any possibility we have, because this is what we have to do. And unfortunately, WHO and other international organizations are trying to help us, trying to get ventilators and ICU beds to the Gaza, but they are all banned from the other side of the borders. What we are calling is, first of all, we need a ceasefire now because the situation is completely collapsed now. And also, we need especially the food and especially the medical aids to get in. What we are asking for is just hospital beds and ventilators and medications, painkiller, antibiotics. These are the major things that we have a very big shortage now here in the hospital. So last pumping that happened around 3 months ago, there was a very big damage in one of our ICU where the patients were inside, and many of them are having critical conditions and they got pumped inside the ICU. But because we are here as a medical provider, we can't stop. As I told you, every time a strike happens, explosions happens, we go on, we clean up, we try to go on with this and not without giving up or leaving the hospital.
Dr. Saber Al-Asmar, intensive care unit doctor, the same intensive care unit that has just been struck and at least partly destroyed by an Israeli strike on Al-Nasser Hospital. Thank you very much, doctor, for taking the time to inform us on what's just happened.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't miss out.
Thank you, bro. This stuff, dude, it is so hard to cover. But I have articles. I'm trying to make videos and, have a format that's maybe a bit more digestible for people. So this was this news story here. Sorry, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it's, maybe it's something that you didn't see or it leads you to some new information. We have to understand that here in the West, the mainstream news is nothing but all lies. Like, we got to turn our TVs off. We have to be smart about the information that we choose to intake. We have to be smart about where we put our time and energy, what we put our efforts towards, right? Key stuff, healthy. Weed through the info, get the lies out of there. Everything thrown in our face right now is lies. They want to keep you distracted and keep you off track. The major issue in this world right now is that there's genocide and ethnic cleansing happening right in front of all of our eyes. And there is a geopolitical world war and chessboard at play that they don't want you to pay attention to in the West. When we all go out and work this week, I hope we all enjoy, one way or another, working to pay Israel and to pay Ukraine, because essentially that's what's going on. Everyone out there, we're all going out and we're punching that clock and we're punching overtime, or you're working independently, right? And you're hustling and whatever, only to file your taxes and this and that, right? We're all doing that just so we can send a good chunk of that right to them. And that's the reality of this anymore. And we are complicit in atrocities. I think we're complicit in actions that I think, just bottom line, most people don't agree with. And it's time for us to speak up and do something about it and try to stop this and try to stop these people from being slaughtered the way they are. Not we, but the Jews just struck the Yemeni government last night, literally taking out the equivalent to like our White House. They took out the presidential palace, and I believe on the news they referred to it as his cabinet, but I think it was like some cabinet officials and close aides. It seems as though Ansar Allah is untouched by this, right? Which is the military who's been sending missiles at Israel and enforcing the blockade. They took out like the politicians and the seat of government. This is like as much of an attack on the Yemeni people as it is on the Yemeni military or the Houthi military. Israel just keeps going deeper and deeper. You guys, we need to realize that they're for real and attempting to execute this greater Israel. They're using us in the U.S. to do it and using our money to do it. So I hope you guys enjoy working for Israel this week. I'll catch you on the next video. Free Palestine. God bless. This is stuff where it's tough to gather everything into a written article. I've been doing a lot of writing lately. I write these articles on my Substack. Please go check it out. I'll have the link to some stuff for you guys. I write that stuff so Americans and people in the West have something to share that is the truth, coming from a Western perspective. And so I write that stuff in hopes that it gets out there to people and we share it around, and it helps open minds up. So all the support that I can get in that regard would be gratefully appreciated by anybody out there. No one really sees my stuff. I'm doing my best to change that. And if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel. You would really, really help me get on the road to changing these things. Hop on board. Right now I'm climbing towards 100 subs, so I would love anyone's support.